Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Jamie the Crafty DIY Guy. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing some easy DIY projects that you can create with everything from Crafter Square. If you like iron-ons, if you like stencils, if you like stickers, if you like frames, I'm going to show you how you can recreate some very easy to do artwork that looks really expensive. That is not, because I don't think anything in this entire video cost me more than $2 to make, and it's all from Dollar Tree. All right, everyone, if you like Dollar Tree signs, Dollar Tree canvases, stencils, rub-on transfers, iron-ons, this is going to be the video for you. We are creating high-end looking artwork all from Dollar Tree. All right, everyone, and for my first project, I'm going to take this rub-on transfer that I grabbed from Dollar Tree's Crafter Square. Also, I'm going to pick up this 4x6 frame. This happened to be the frame that was the right size for the rub-on transfer. Now, if you want to recreate this, of course, with a different size rub-on transfer, just make sure that whatever transfer you grab will fit perfectly within the glass part of your frame. We're not so worried about the matting or anything that was in that frame. So I took my glass out because that's actually where we're going to apply our rub-on transfer. And I'm going to use this piece of cardboard in the background just to, honestly, just to help me out. My background is white, and I want to make sure that I rub this on the glass and not on my work surface there. So that's strictly what that cardboard piece is. However, that cardboard piece is going to come in handy later, so definitely don't discard it. Now, with the rub-on transfer, it's pretty easy to peel away, as you see here, and you are going to put the rub-on transfer directly onto the glass, and you're going to put this on top of the glass and just kind of center it up, make sure that it's in a good space, center it, measure it on each side if you want. You know me, I always eyeball things, and that's probably why everything is pretty crooked. But this one I think turned out pretty good. Now I'm going to tape my transfer down. I've got that great tape dispenser. Isn't that adorable? That came from Target many, many years ago. And I'm just going to take my Cricut tool here, but Dollar Tree has a very similar tool. And you could use a credit card, you could use an old gift card, but you are going to rub this transfer down on the glass. Now, with the rub-on transfers, I learned fairly easily, you want to use a decent amount of pressure. Now, for the pressure, what's great about this too is that when you really start looking at this rub-on transfer, you can tell when you've got that transfer transferring onto whatever surface you're going to be rubbing this on. Now you can kind of see here where the lettering turns from black to almost a gray color. And again, I'm putting a very decent amount of pressure on here. I am really rubbing this sucker in to make sure that everything is transferring over. And you can kind of see now in the B and the original part of the H, or the kind of early part of the H, the grayness that I'm kind of talking about. Now, with those colored feathers up above, that's a little harder because those don't really change a lot of color, but they definitely do get less vibrant. So that's how you really know that you're transferring everything properly. So again, just keep rubbing, and then when you are all done, or when you think you're all done, you can kind of take a sneak peek by peeling up your plastic to see if you've got everything transferred over successfully. And so as you can see here, I'm going to start peeling this up. Now, I had one slight complication, and that was with this Scotch tape that I used. This was the Dollar Tree Scotch tape that I put in my little Pitbull tape dispenser there. And the tape is really good. It really sticks. So I'm just going to use my Cricut tool here to kind of peel it off or get rid of the tape. But as you can see, the transfer is actually working really well. I was really happy with the way that this one turned out. So you're going to go ahead and peel that away, and then I'm going to have to go through and, of course, peel off any of the tape that was left over. There's a little bit of tape here at the top that is off camera that I'm going to go ahead and just remove. And then once I have that cleaned up, it really looks great. I love the way this looks on the glass. And, you know, this is something that could be really fun. Talk about awkward camera angles. Holy crap, Jamie, what did I just do there? All right, so now that I've got my cardboard piece, you know, the cardboard piece won't really work. And obviously if I had something white behind it, that would be ideal. Now, I could certainly paint that piece of cardboard if I wanted to, but instead I'm going to pull out a piece of my contact paper, not contact paper, I'm sorry. I could use this piece and, you know, flip it over if I wanted to, but I wanted something a little sturdier. So this is some scrapbook paper, and I'm just going to trace it just with my frame. And I've got my Sharpie there, and I'm just gonna cut it out to the exact size of that glass because I know that's gonna fit inside of my frame. And then I'm going to take my frame and just really start reassembling it. I'm gonna take my glass, make sure that that's of course in the frame first. We're gonna put that face down. And then you're going to add in a piece of your contact paper. Now, you could really use any kind of contact paper or any kind of scrapbook paper or anything. This is what it looks like when it's all done. And I'm so happy with the way that this turned out. This looks great in my office. I love the punch of color, and I really love the saying. It's a great reminder, but imagine all of the details and things that you could really recreate with these simple Dollar Tree rub-on transfers. Pretty cool, huh? All right, for my next project, I am going to be using a Dollar Tree canvas. This is a small canvas, and then I have this iron-on transfer. Now, I thought that this would be a great size and that this would be something that would be really fun for my coffee bar. Now, you're gonna need an iron, of course, because we are using an iron-on transfer here. And the great thing about these iron-on transfers, and just a word of warning for you guys, the directions are right on the back, so if you cut through it like I did, then you're going to cut through your directions. You're going to get two pieces. You're going to get a parchment paper, and then you're going to get your iron-on transfer part. So go ahead and, of course, take all of the plastic and all the stuff off of the frame. You will be keeping your canvas on the frame, though. So for this one, you know, don't take your canvas apart. And you could really use any kind of canvas that you wanted to, as long as your iron-on was going to be compatible or at least a similar size. Now, the glossy, shiny side of your transfer is up because the sticky part of the transfer is on the back side of that glossy part. And then your parchment paper, which comes with your iron-on transfer from Dollar Tree, will go on top of that. And then you're going to take your iron. I just have mine on the cotton setting, and just going to go very, very slowly back and forth on this. Now, I will say the canvas, you know, is not very sturdy. It's not a very thick canvas, and it does kind of bow a little bit. The fabric, I guess, of the canvas bows down just a little bit. So with your iron, especially an iron the size of mine, you have to kind of direct the points of the iron or the hot parts of the iron kind of all over the iron-on transfer itself. If this were a t-shirt or something where you could lay it completely flat on the canvas or on the table and not have to worry about that wood frame that is on this canvas, then it might be a little easier, but just be patient with it because it does work. Again, just kind of going through, making sure, adjusting my parchment paper as needed, kind of giving a little sneak peek there, checking to see if it's working. And now I'm just going to continue to add that heat source to it. And at one point, I even just kind of laid the iron right on top of it and just, you know, watched it, of course, and monitored it and made sure that I wasn't burning my canvas or any of that stuff, because that certainly is no fun, especially if you're trying to create something that's going to be really fun. Now, after I was pretty happy with the way that everything was setting up, I'm going to now peel away the plastic and check this out. I'm so happy with the way this turned out. I've got a personalized little canvas sign here. Now, if you wanted to paint around your iron-on, you certainly could. To make a border or something, I'm just going to add one of my satin ribbon bows from Dollar Tree right at the top here. And I just tied a very simple bow and then glued it right on top. I added this little easel that I found, and it creates the perfect little coffee sign for your coffee bar. I love this idea so much, and I cannot wait to find other iron-on transfers at Dollar Tree to create some really, really cool looking artwork. And I did it without having to have an expensive machine or anything else. All right, for the next one, we are going to take some of these stencils. Now, these are the flexible stencils from Dollar Tree, and then I also grabbed this piece of this frame. It's I was going to call it a piece of artwork. So again, removing all the guts, all the stuff from this, and then for this one, you're going to remove the twine that's in there. You're going to remove those little clothespins. This was the only frame that I really found at Dollar Tree that was the appropriate size for this. Now, I will give you a little word or a little warning. I used painter's tape for this particular design. I used the painter's tape to help hold that flexible stencil in place, because those flexible stencils from Dollar Tree, they're not lying. They are super, super, super flexible. And you're going to want to secure those down some way. And the masking tape actually ended up tearing my black kind of background there. And I think what I did wrong is I believe one side of this is kind of more like a chalkboard surface, but instead I used the back of the backing, and that's more of a cardboard type surface. So I would recommend either using a tape, maybe more like a Scotch tape, or I was really surprised the painter's tape had tore the way that it did. So anyway, once you've got it centered and figured out, you could certainly add some embellishments, like here. If I wanted to cut down this piece of my scrap from one of my previous projects, I could do that, and that would give it a nice background. But instead, I want to do this that just kind of gives it a little bit of a, antiqued way or an antique look. Now, if you wanted to use some sort of scrapbook paper for some kind of background or something, by all means, go for it. If you could find a background that had a fun pattern or something, and then you could figure out how to go ahead and have that pop of color with some paint with that stencil to come through, I think that could be amazing. I think that this could be a really, really beautiful project in a lot of different ways. Now, this is the mistake. My tape pieces are probably too big, and you'll see what I did to fix that once once the first one tore. But after you've got everything taped down, then we're going to prep our surface. Now, once I've got everything taped down, I am going to protect this nice white clean surface that I have, with the exception of that one little scuff that's in there that I did. And I am going to be using my Katch crafting mat here. Now, if you're not familiar with Katch, this is a crafting mat that's kind of like a felt or a fabric material on one side. Then this backside is sticky. And what's great about it is it will stick directly down to your crafting surface, and it keeps your surface extra, extra clean. And you are going to see that there will not be one speck of paint on that white surface. Now, I thought I had white chalk paint. Well, guess what? I'm out of white chalk paint. So I'm going to use this Nautical by Waverly, or this Ocean rather, by Waverly. And it kind of works out for me because, blue is one of my favorite colors anyway, so why not go for it? And the Ocean kind of color there, or the Nautical, I forget what it was called, I think it was Ocean, is going to still pop against that black background. Now, for your sponge paint, up and down motions, that's the best way. I take a little bit of paint on my brush, I dab it off on my Katch work surface there, and then just strictly use up and down motions. Don't try and get it in there. Don't try and force it in there. Just literally bounce it back and forth, twerk it on the, twerk your paint into your stencil and really start to fill in those spaces. And when you do it light enough and you do several coats of it, you are going to see it start to really come to life. So after you've done that, you are now ready to start peeling away your tape. Now, anytime I'm working with the stencil, I always will take my heat gun and just kind of go over my stencil or my area just a little bit with a heat gun, just to kind of help speed up some of that drying process. And usually I've never had any problems with that. Now, this is the part that will reveal what I was talking about when the tape tore. So after I did that and tore it and said some bad words, then I decided to kind of help my tape loosen up a little bit. And what I did end up doing was peeling very, very slowly on this one here. I was still scared that it was going to tear it. So I really just wanted to be able to get my stencil off of my surface here because I didn't want any of that residual paint to possibly drip down or mess anything up. And so I successfully did it here. I think it's so cute the way it turned out, but then I've got that tear up at the top there. So I will show you what I'm gonna do. Now, I took my heat gun and just kind of reheated the tape so the glue on the tape would be kind of reactivated. And I was able to successfully get all of the other tape off of there with minimal tearing or anything like that. So I still have to figure out how to fix this area. So what I ended up doing was taking some black chalk paint. And this is ink by Waverly, by the way. And as you can see, it's a total different color from the actual frame itself. So what I ended up doing instead was creating a border with my ink chalk paint. And I just did this by hand, so it's not straight. Nothing in my life is straight. And I had to go through and just kind of recreate a border all the way around my piece here so I could somewhat salvage this for you guys. And, this is a real example of sometimes the DIY you think would be a fail, you can kind of save it. And I just started thinking about how much I wish I had some white chalk paint because a white border around this would have been great. But I think that the way this turned out actually worked out really well. It's super, super cute. And so I'm going to set that aside and let that dry. And then I'm going to show you the great thing about this Katch crafting mat. Now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my paint, close up all the ones that are still open, put those away on my paint containers or my paint storage, and then watch this. All you have to do is go at the top of your Katch material there and just start peeling it off of your work surface. It literally comes off that easy. And check it out. Not one single drop of blue or black paint is on my work surface. Now, I could have taken the paint that was on there, I could have dabbed it off of there, and I could have reused this because once the paint is dry on that surface, it's not going to bleed through anymore. And remember that little scuff in the middle, that was not from my paint. But check this out. Look at my piece of artwork that I created. I really love this. I was able to do this for $2 because I had the paint that was already on hand. And I love the saying, and it's a great addition to my craft room space, which is the purple room. And you can see my living room kind of peeking through there on the side. Maybe I'll give a tour someday. All right, next project, the Shine Bright stencil. And we're also going to be using a Dollar Tree canvas. Now, for this one, again, get the stencil out of the packaging. Sometimes the packaging at Dollar Tree is the absolute worst. Now, I've got a new Katch crafting mat down below because I'm actually going to use some spray glue. I didn't want to try the tape again, so I thought I would try this with this spray glue. I actually picked this up at Dollar Tree as well. So once I've got a nice coverage on the glue, now I'm trying to figure out how the heck to get it off of there. So I thought I would just take a pair of pliers here, or snips, I don't know what they're called. And so I just picked it up and just kind of laid it down on top of my canvas and just kind of tried to center it and make sure that it was centered. And I think I did a pretty good job actually for this one. Now I'm going to now use my Katch mat because I didn't stick this one down to my work surface because I'm going to use it for a couple other things. I'm just going to cut a piece of my Katch mat off of here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it up, and then I'm going to use this to dab the top of my stencil just to make sure that none of that spray glue that I used is going to kind of interfere with the stencil itself, because I want the Shine Bright to actually shine bright and show through. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, you have a couple options here. You could, play with some layering and some different things. I could have painted my canvas maybe black and then put the stencil on top of that and done something with chalk paint. But instead, I'm going to take it out and I'm using a metallic spray paint. This is a kind of a chrome metallic. It's more like a paint, honestly, for painting your chain link fences. And it works really good for a lot of different surfaces. So I'm just using that directly on top of the surface. And as you can see, I'm just going for it. I'm just using that paint. Now, this part I forgot to film, and then I kind of acted like I was filming it, but I removed the stencil with my Cricut tool, and boom, you've got a very cute piece of artwork once again. And it goes really well with the theme and with the inspiration pieces that I have. And I kind of love the way that this looks, honestly. I took a very simple just piece of twine. In fact, it was the twine left over from one of the previous projects. I just put some masking tape on the back of it because we know that tape's going to stick. And I hung it on the wall. Bam. This is a simple piece of artwork that you've got for, imagine you could do this for your kids' room. You could do this for just your own inspiration wall. There's so many great things. And this, again, was $2 because I had the paint that I needed on hand. Okay, my last project here, this is not from Dollar Tree, but if you bought some cork sheets from Dollar Tree and you bought a couple poster boards and glued those all together, you could easily recreate your own personalized cork board. So keep that in mind. This cork board came from Pop Shelf, I think it was, and I think it was like $3 or $5 maybe. Trying to get the plastic off of this thing was crazy, but again, if your Crafter Square has the cork sheets, this is very, very easy for you to recreate. Take a couple pieces of your contact board or your tag board and glue them on top of each other, and then use your cork sheets to kind of, create your own cork board, essentially. So now that we've got all of that explained, I could certainly use masking tape if I wanted to, but remember that Katch mat that we used for our Shine Bright project? You can kind of see the glue still sticking through there. Remember, I didn't take the sticky surface off of the back of the previous one, so I am going to use my Katch mat as my mat for this project. Now, Katch also makes painter's tape, and they also make it in a couple different sizes. So that's what that additional piece is there that you see, that kind of longer, skinnier piece. So I took one piece of my Katch mat and I just kind of taped off half of my cork board. And then I'm going to go through and I'm going to use these strips from the painter's tape that they have. And I'm going to kind of tape off another design area. And sometimes it doesn't, sometimes you got to work at it a little bit here. Got to get the fingernails longer, I guess. But once I've got this peeled off and set up for my design, I am going to go outside. Now, remember, everything that you're taping off here is going to be, it's going to be not painted. I don't know why I can't think of that. All right, so I spray painted it just with some flat black spray paint. It was starting to rain outside, so I just went ahead and brought it inside, and I'm just gonna take my heat gun and just kind of speed up that drying process. It definitely smelled really good in my in my craft room here for a little while. All right, and now that I have everything dried, it's time to go ahead and peel away the Katch tape. Again, how cool is this? It is just as good as any painter's tape or masking tape, but what's great about it is it also catches any of the drips. And so after I've got everything dried and just making sure one last pass with the heat gun, I'm gonna go ahead and remove this larger piece, which is going to reveal a beautiful cork surface that has not been touched by the black spray paint. Again, this is kind of a cool customizable piece. You can make any pattern that you want really with masking tape or of course any of the Katch products. I feel like that mine's missing something, so I want to add an additional stripe or two on the cork surface there. And I don't want it to be a huge, stripe surface. So I'm gonna use some more of the Katch masking tape. That's what this is here, the Katch painter's tape. And then they have this thicker kind of version, which I think is great for like crown molding or something. And again, you can use this to catch all kinds of, you know, fun surfaces and gunk that might come from your project. So I'm going to go ahead and use this larger piece first. And for this larger piece, what I'm going to do is go ahead and just peel off a big sheet and just kind of really protect this surface that I already painted. I don't want additional spray paint to be on the part that I've already painted. And the great thing about this Katch tape is that it's really going to protect the surface here, and it's not going to let any of my spray paint kind of interfere with it. So literally I am catching and protecting with this painter's tape, which is so cool. And so I just went ahead and cut off 3 strips. I'm going to go ahead and just cover up everything on that one side, and then I will go ahead and just tuck those sides down, make sure that they're safe and, you know, secure. And again, you saw me, I just smoothed it out right on top of the surface that I already painted because I know it's not going to pull any of that paint up from the previous project. Maybe I should have used my Katch tape on my previous project, the Love and you know, Grateful, Happiness, Believe thing, because I wouldn't have had that issue and had to paint that black border that I ended up doing. So I'm going to go ahead and lay out again some painter's tape. This is the kind of painter's tape from Katch. Gonna lay this out nice and flat and just, again, just gonna create my design or what I think I want as my design. And you'll see here what's great about this too is that after I laid this particular one out, it was a little crooked, but also on top of that, I thought that the striping was just going to be too thin. And I wanted something that was gonna be closer in size. So I went ahead and removed it. I removed it and repositioned it. And again, that's what's great about this Katch tape is because it will kind of adhere to your surface, but it won't necessarily stick to the surface so bad that it ruins it, kind of like that cardboard. Now, again, I don't want all of that kind of cork area that I'm covering up right now to be completely black because I do like the texture and the cork board look. So once all that was done, I took it outside, I spray painted it again, I brought it inside and let it dry. First, I'm gonna reveal that side that I taped off or catched off that's already covered. And as you can see, it didn't affect it one bit. Not one single speck of the black paint that was already sprayed onto the cork board came up, but it all protected it because it catched it all, which was even better. So next, I'm going to now reveal those stripes. This one came off really easily because of the heat gun, and bam, now I've got this perfectly customized corkboard. And this is something that can be unique to you. You know, you don't have to do this design if you don't want to. You could certainly have fun with it. You can recreate a lot of different fun designs. You could cut zigzag patterns. You could do circles. You could do all kinds of stuff. And yeah, you could grab painter's tape and recreate the same exact thing. But if you have some Katch tape on hand, why not use that instead? Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, let me know in the comments below which ones were your favorite. Of course, I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. You guys know who you are, my long-termers, short-termers, everybody in between. The long-timers, I call them the OGs, and that's just because they've been with me since the original. We are the original gang here on the Crafty DIY Guys channel. Check me out on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest and all the other ones. All right, guys, take care. Have a great day.